I've spent most of my life exploring the deep woods alone, but one hike in the remote stretches of West Virginia almost became my last. For years, I've preferred leaving the marked paths behind, seeking true solitude. That confidence is what led me into a situation that still haunts me. It was last autumn in the Monongahela National Forest. The air was cool, the sky a flat gray, perfect for a long, isolated trek. After about 4 hours, the terrain opened up into a sharp, deep ravine. It wasn't a Grand Canyon, but the drop was significant, maybe 40 feet to a jagged, rocky floor with a thin stream cutting through. A fall wouldn't necessarily be fatal, but you wouldn't walk away from it. The walls were sheer, choked with loose shale and dangerous overhangs. The only way across was a massive, fallen oak tree, its trunk worn smooth by the elements, creating a natural bridge. I tested it carefully, decided it was solid, and began my slow, focused crossing. The adrenaline was a familiar thrill, but as soon as my boots touched solid ground on the other side, a new sound froze me in place. A steady, metronomic thunk echoed from the far bank. I turned. A man stood there, maybe 10 yards from the tree's base. He was older, in his 50s, with a wild, unkempt beard and wearing a faded camouflage jacket. In his hands was a full-sized wood axe. My mind raced, trying to logic it out. Maybe he was a local woodsman. But then he walked straight to the base of my bridge and started swinging. I shouted across the gap, "What are you doing? Stop!" He ignored me completely, his axe biting deeper into the wood with each swing. The great tree groaned and shifted. I screamed, my voice cracking, telling him I needed that to get back. He finally paused, looked directly at me, and said with chilling calm, "That isn't my concern." His tone was so casual it was enraging. I lost my composure, yelling insults I don't even remember. Something I said must have struck a nerve, because he suddenly stopped. He set the axe down and stepped closer to the edge. His eyes were dark hollows in his face. He leaned forward and said, "I know these woods better than you." It wasn't a threat. It was a statement of fact, and it filled me with a deep, primal dread. He stared for a long moment, then retrieved his tool and vanished into the forest. I was stranded. The tree was still there, but his axe had done its work. The connection was splintered and unstable. My phone had no signal. Panic began to set in. I decided to follow the ravine downstream, hoping for a safer crossing. But after an hour of walking, the gorge only grew deeper and wider. The sun was dipping below the tree line, and my anxiety was turning into pure fear. Just as I was considering a desperate climb, I found a campsite. It wasn't a relief. The fire ring was cold, but the surrounding trees were covered in deep, deliberate carvings, unnerving symbols, not random graffiti. Bits of rusted metal, torn cloth, and what looked like small animal bones were arranged around the clearing. A deep wrongness settled over me. I didn't stay to investigate. I ran. And then I heard it, the sound of footsteps keeping pace with me. Every time I whipped around, the forest fell silent. I thought it was an animal, a predator. Then I saw a figure dart behind a tree, then another. They weren't hiding anymore. I saw a glint of metal in one hand, a pipe or a bar. They were herding me. I broke into a sprint, and they gave chase. The silence shattered with their screams, not of anger, but something primal and terrifying. I ran on pure instinct, my own breath roaring in my ears. The gorge was still to my left, and just as my legs began to fail, I saw another fallen tree, thinner and more precarious. I didn't think. I scrambled onto it and half walked, half crawled across, my heart hammering against my ribs. I made it. I turned back. 3 figures stood on the far side, all mirroring the first man, filthy, menacing. One held a metal pipe. The lead figure placed a hand on the log I'd just crossed, then stepped back. They just watched me. One of them spoke, his voice a low growl. "Get out of here. You got lucky." I didn't need to be told twice. I ran until I found a trail, and eventually my car. I reported it, but nothing ever came of it. I still go into the woods, but the silence there feels different now. The woods hold a different kind of quiet when you know you're not welcome. My second story takes place in the dense forests of northern Minnesota. I was miles from any trail, completely immersed in the raw wilderness. That's when I realized I was lost. That sinking feeling in your gut when nothing looks right. Then I heard it, a persistent rustling in the undergrowth, keeping perfect time with my steps. I'd stop, it would stop. I told myself it was a deer, but I knew it wasn't. The movement suddenly exploded around me. A full pack of wolves emerged from the trees, surrounding me. 6 of them, maybe 7. Some snarled, others just watched with cold, intelligent eyes. I drew my knife, knowing it was a futile gesture. I was sure this was the end. Then, in a single unified motion, every wolf froze. Their ears pricked up, all focusing on something behind me. And then they fled. They ran as if their own lives depended on it. The fear I felt then was far worse than when they had me surrounded. The forest became utterly silent. No birds, no wind. The light seemed to dim like a shadow had fallen over the sun. I had to walk toward whatever had scared them. About 20 minutes later, I found a clearing. At first, I thought it was a campsite. It wasn't. The trees around it were scarred with the same kind of strange, intentional symbols I'd seen before. From the branches hung little bones and twisted pieces of rusted metal on leather strings. The fire pit was a careful stack of stones filled with burnt cloth and unidentifiable junk. And hanging in the air, about head high, was a cloud of thick, black smoke. It didn't move. It didn't rise or dissipate. It just hung there, a solid stain in the world. I couldn't look away. A profound, inexplicable sorrow and terror filled me, a grief for something that hadn't even happened. It felt like I was watching a memory through glass, not standing in the woods. I have no idea how long I stood there, trapped by that impossible smoke, before some survival instinct kicked in and I ran. My memory of the next few hours is just gone. The next thing I knew, it was dark, I was shivering and soaked with sweat, and I was stumbling toward my car. I never told anyone. What would I even say?